So I've tried to tell this story for weeks in this programme podcast about how things have changed, and people listening have asked me about it, because I've said there was a manager who hit me, was the phrase. It was a Rangers manager. So it does fall on nicely from this in the relationship. My career kind of grew. I was working in the Evening Times. Very happy 11 years of my life, the Glasgow Evening Times, which was a massive selling paper back in the day, late 70s. And when Big Jock Wallace came back the second time, unsuccessfully, a fantastic manager the first time around, went down south, came back, he was down at Leicester, came back to Rangers, and this was the precursor to Souness coming, of course. Anyway, I had my phone goes one day, or not my phone, again, there was a time, younger listeners, when there was no such thing as mobile phones. So they phoned the office, and Jock and I caught. I happened to give him the phone at Sports Desk in the Times. Get your arse out here now. That was a kind invitation to get to Ibrox as quickly as possible. So I drove over to Ibrox, up the marble staircase, and I'm not sure if it's still there now, but there was a set of traffic lights, as it were, on the manager's office at Ibrox.
Oh yeah, that's right, I remember that.
Red, amber, green. Jock had the green taken away, it was red and orange, right? So I get in, so I go in, and he's got a seat, classic man. And Jock Wallace was a diamond of a man, I loved him. And sit in your arse, and there was a seat isolated, he's behind the manager's office at Ibrox, all the portraits up on the wall. And he says, right, sit there. And he asks you a question. You and I have been friends for a long time. Correct. He says, when you were a kid, I helped you with your career. Also correct. He says, well, I'm struggling a bit now. I said, yes, I've noticed. He says, well, I need all the help from my friends I can get. I said, you probably do, Jock. He said, so how come, he says, every time I pick up a copy of the Evening Times, there's a back page story about a Rangers player asking for a transfer, and your name's on the story. And I came back with what I thought the reasonable defence. I said, well, is it true? And Big Jock says, aye, it's true, but that's not the effing point. And I thought, that is the point. And he says, I need help. I just need help with people I've been good to over the years, and I'm struggling. And you shouldn't be writing stories like that. He says, in fact, he says, I think I'll come around there and smack you. To my absolute horror, Jock Wallace got up behind the manager's desk. Jock had hands like
he was a goalkeeper.
He was also a soldier and fought in the past.
Jungle fighter.
He's jungle fighter.
Probably strangled a few.
And then he came back up, and to my absolute horror, his hands are about twice the size of mine. And he came round, and he didn't really hit me. Kind of smacked me like that across the head, and I wasn't sore about it. What? And he said, right, come on, into the blue room, and the manager's office. He goes in there, and he poured me. He said, we'll have a half. And he poured me a whiskey that some people might call a quarter bottle, and he had it, and he drank his whiskey. He said, "That's it, settled. It's over, right? We'll go on with it." And he never mentioned it again. I was never mentioned in the relationship. He had dealt with it. We had a whiskey. Anyway, I had to finish this whiskey, but and this is times have changed, and they would never do this now, but. I also had to drive my car back to the Evening Times in the afternoon, and I thought, the Rangers manager just hit me. And I'm thinking now, they'd be all over page one, centre page spread, back page. I've never really mentioned it until now, really. And Jock and...
It does seem a bit. I mean, if he needed help, could he not just have gave you the handshake? Thrown in a couple of Masonic distress words.
I get the point you're trying to make here, Philip, but my hand didn't fit into Jock Wallace's, or vice versa.